Call the Infrastructure and Property Committee meeting to order. Roll call. Paul Bissonnette.
Here.
Paul Govan is absent. Rob Carmichael is here. The first item on the agenda is the Nason parking lot. Sue, would you like to?
Yes. You would ask to have our engineers do a design for a parking lot on the former Nason lot that did two things. One was to create the parking lot, but the bigger issue was to address the drainage issues that are problems behind Main Street and causing damage to foundations on book stacks, the old flower shop, and the property adjacent to that. So the Oliver did the design, which you have the specs in your packet, and the map is here that outlines what the parking lot would look like. It goes in through the existing parking lot off Central Street. There's an entrance in there. There's not an entrance out the other side. We don't own the property beyond that in order to access that, and there's no access out of the Main Street side because that lane that goes around there is too narrow to allow for entering and exiting traffic. But it is, as I said, it addresses the drainage issues, which were what drove this initial. We knew that we owned the land and it had been identified as a potential parking lot, but the concerns of Main Street businesses who have been experiencing significant drainage issues along behind were what we were trying to correct with this plan, and that's what is proposed here.
One of the things I looked for and I found pretty quickly was there's a 90-day completion, and there is a penalty for time beyond that. And what was the time completion date we're actually looking for from the time the bid is awarded to?
From the time that the contract is signed until is the 90-day window.
So we're looking within the next couple of weeks.
Oh, we would. Tonight it's on the agenda to put out to bid, and in the period of time that you put that out, then once it's out, it can be awarded either. Most likely the first meeting in. I'm sorry, the second meeting in April would be the 25th would be an award date.
We have an award date.
So
okay,
that they could proceed. That 90 it would have to be done within 90 days at that time.
And the other, we were just talking a little bit about it, was the warranty piece of it. Could you describe a little bit about what is warranted and what recourse we have?
The warranty is on the construction of that it's the drainage works and as designed, and that it has the right depth of gravel and the right depth of pavement, and it's put down correctly. The good thing about putting something under contract of this nature is that if something isn't working, that there's recourse for remedies to that. If there was a design flaw, that's engineering, but if it's construction, that is the contract.
Is there a warranty?
They have
on
to
the
have
design,
a bond. They
on
have
the
to have a
design?
bond on this.
How about the
well.
design? Is there a warranty on the design in the event that there's a flaw with the design?
Generally not, but our experience has been with Oliver that if there's ever been an issue with design, they've come back and they've worked with the community for a long time. They're unlikely to want to leave something that doesn't work, but it's not a complicated design. It basically collects all the stormwater that's coming up that hill. directs it into 2 catch basins and takes it to existing drainage lines. So it's not, I don't know how to, it's not a fancy design in terms of some newfangled.
Well, I was getting lost when I was reading
Proposal.
all of it, bituminous gravel and the depth and all of that, so I didn't pay a lot of attention. I assumed it's just people.
Yeah, well,
The
no,
first part of
it's a, as I said, it's a fairly simple design in that its total focus is, in addition to providing parking spaces, is to direct runoff in a controlled way,
So the
so that it
buildings in the
keeps
front.
it from coming down behind these buildings on
And the
Main
only
Street.
entrance to this parking lot will be off Central Street?
That's correct. At some point in the future, if the town were to negotiate for access through here, you could access this other parking lot over here.
Is that community pharmacy, that
Yeah,
one? Well, there's a gap.
no, there's a gap between, this is private property right
Right.
here, and that's why we didn't go there, and as I said, this is
That's
too,
that little right away.
that's too narrow to go through this way. So it's an entrance in and goes around, and then you are going out the same into that other parking lot.
So it's just one entrance, it's not
That's
a
correct.
loop entrance?
That,
Yeah.
well, it comes, the way it's designed, it goes around the
It's all-
inside of that.
Right, but it's all one entrance
That's
exit.
correct.
Following it.
I know, I would like to see the map.
You in?
Hasn't the academy? It's tied up.
And the purpose of this is to get permission to put it out to bid. The decision on whether you actually do the project would be based on what your final cost was for when that came in, but I can't know that until you put it out to bid.
And I asked, and if it's been answered in the past, I apologize, but is there a process to not improve the parking lot and just do the drainage? Or is it not? No.
No, the design, the addition of the pavement and the stable base and the angle that the parking lot is designed and the
It's all
retainer, it's
coordinated?
all part of that runoff needs to go in a concerted effort. If you don't have any pavement to collect it, it's not going to go into the drainage areas correctly.
Any questions from the public?
Could I take a look at the map?
Jim Morrison, East Bucksport. In this contract, it states that each phase will be inspected by Olver, down to the compaction of the aggregate, whether it's the right size aggregate, whether it's in the right place, whether it can, it's the same as the surrounding land and everything like that. Are they, when this contract is bid, does that paying them have to get bid into this same contract by the contractor?
Yes.
So they have to bid that in. Okay, and even with them confirming that everything is done properly, they're still not held responsible for the end result?
The contractor is the one who bonds the job, and so if something doesn't work, the contractor's bond is the one that the town has the right to call.
My guess is that with the contractor would end up being a battle with the engineer.
That
It
would be their,
between those two if something went wrong with the engineering. We're covered by the bond.
That's right.
Right? And that's what I would assume.
No, oh, okay.
I think it would end up being a battle between those two, because we'd be made whole by the bond, and then they would go after the engineer if they thought the engineer designed it
Yeah.
correctly.
this is the one for the next, we have a,
Yeah.
anyway.
Anyway, so we need just a
Motion.
recommendation Do we need to vote on a recommendation from the committee?
to recommend to the council to put it out to bid if you
Make a
decide that's
motion.
what you want.
Motion to recommend.
And second, all in favor? And so we'll move on then to the Nason parking lot, the sewer issues, Center Street sewer.
Okay, so, we have a cross-country line.
That's the Woodland Heights area, right?
No,
Oh, no?
no,
Okay.
no, this is
Different
Central
one.
Street.
Different one.
Woodland Heights has been being addressed by Public Works, but Central Street, between Franklin Street and Main Street, there's a cross-country line that comes from the yellow apartment building on Franklin
Yep.
down
To
to
my office.
by his office, under the Quonset hut at the church, to a line that in the community pharmacy parking lot. And there are no easements that I can find for the town to have any right to do anything to this line. You know, there's no easements across private property to do that. And there has been sewer issues in the yellow house on the corner. And that yellow house has now connected to the Franklin Street sewer and is changing all the plumbing so that it will go in that direction. It's the internal stuff isn't done, and it's still going down that back line, but its future is going into Franklin Street. Until a couple of days ago, I did not know that there was a line under the Quonset hut until a former town employee who installed it came to see me and said, I see they're digging on Franklin Street. You know there's a cross-country line that goes down across there. And I said, well, it's not the town's. And he said, well, we put it in. I said, okay, what did we put in? And he said, we put in a ductile iron pipe under the area where they then built the Quonset hut. That we put it ductile iron so because they were going to build on top of it, and that way. And I said, what did we connect it to? And he said, clay tile. So there are issues with drainage. There are blockages that are causing backups at the yellow house. And the other thing is that in places this line is 10 to 15 feet deep. It's really deep.
How long ago was this put in?
1980s, 70s, 80s. It was.
Is it roots growing through?
I don't know. We can't camera it because they rotted it from both ends and came to what they think are two separate blockages. But there is so much material in the pipe that when they opened it, it's like a geyser that comes out, and they pumped out 6,000 gallons of waste, and it was still coming, and they put it back together. But it's unknown what else hooks into this line other than
Well, one theory is that when we redid that parking lot, we left the foundation in there and left the sewer pipe and didn't plug it, so the groundwater fills the foundation and then it goes down the sewer line. Because it was bubbling up, and it would have been coming uphill if there was nothing else above it. I mean, and there's no way it's coming uphill. That's what it's saying.
Right.
so. The reason we're talking about this is that when the yellow house gets disconnected and capped off and is no longer contributing to anything, we'll have a better way to maybe assess what is contributing to the flow in this line, apart from Ocean's Edge, which is one of the contributors. But since we installed this stuff, we appear to have some responsibility to figure out what's wrong with it. And
Do we have any record of us installing it other than say-so from somebody?
No, there's no, I can't find any recorded easements.
no, Mr. Gray, who's the one that I spoke with who worked here, that installed it with another gentleman, was very clear on when it was installed and how it was, what it was made of, and I discussed the fact that it didn't have easements, and he indicated that at the time that the records went from the town garage to the treatment facility, which is now where all of them are, that there are many things that don't seem to be there, and that the Maine Water had reps had asked him to do right-around, to show them where these lines were, that are, there are a number of cross-country lines that are, there's one now that was discovered between Pine Street and
Bridge.
Bridge Street.
So this may be more than a once-off issue?
Mm-hmm.
Pine Street and Bridge, right up
It goes between the houses,
between the house.
not in the road. But according to Dave Mishu, it goes between the houses, and there isn't an issue yet, but it's probably clay.
Anyway, so but the problem is that they've dyed things and they don't know where it's going. They can't. It's not
But do they
coming
have,
out
based on the
anywhere.
rotting, do they have an idea where the plug location actually is?
They do, but the locations are, there's buildings all right. There's buildings all around these things, and very little area to excavate and put material, especially if it's 10 to 15 feet down.
And the church is tied in somewhere into this line too, but Dave doesn't seem to know, Dave Mishu doesn't seem to know where.
So what's our answer?
Our answer, okay, the reason we're talking about it is because it's raised its ugly head, and we may need to do something. The current plan is to see what is possible to determine following the disconnection of that apartment house from this line, which is a major contributor to that if that's disconnected, if there's a way, you can't camera a line that has liquid in it. It doesn't work. So if that, something that, right now, that's the only building that's experienced backup, even though it shows blockages, which means it's going somewhere. But if it's very deep, it's
In the ground.
it's in the ground. And
So is
my
there any-
concern over that is that you get enough saturation, you'll know where it
It's gonna
is.
show up.
Because it will.
This is not something to wait for, yeah.
Is there a recommendation we need to make to the full council, or just a
This
awareness thing
is
right
an
now?
FYI.
Okay.
We're now in a monitoring situation of this following
Dino.
the yellow house disconnection, that apartment house disconnection.
Which is happening when?
He's in the process. He's got a plumber in there, and he already put the line into the road. That's why there's a patch of pavement there. So it's just, he's replumbing the entire basement to get gravity to take it in there.
I spoke to the plumber who did the, opened the line and did all that, and his his observation was it's going somewhere, because there's too much of it. You're getting too much flow here for the number of buildings surrounding this property. So we'll monitor that. Main water, that depending on what we do, if we're going to do anything, we need easements to legally be able to do this. And if they're not in evidence, then we need to get legal easements from the church, Oceans, if it needs to go to Elm Street instead of to Main Street because that line is too deep and too blocked, then we need easements to do those kind of things. But this is just an explanation of kind of where we are. If anyone saw why or was asking why Franklin Street was dug up, it was dug up because they were redirecting the flow from that building to Franklin Street from this cross-country pipe that goes under the Quonset hut.
Where did you say it started from again?
Up
It
at
starts
Franklin
from
Street.
Franklin Street
Yes,
and goes down. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And as I said, this is information. There'll be more of this as we go along, but it's a heads up that we have a situation that, and it may not be the only one. As I said when we started discussing this, Dave at Main Water indicated that they had found another line that was between houses that isn't in the road and doesn't have any easements, and that's problematic when you try to fix things.
Okay.
So, but Councilor Eastman had indicated the church at least was willing to work with us.
Yeah, I'll address that. Mike Donato, I'm the pastor of Bucksport Bible Church, and Mark gave me the heads up as to what was going on. Of course, I saw all the activity out there last week, and you know, we're willing to work. We will work with the town in regards to, you know, whatever easements you need, and all I ask is, you know, just keep us in the loop. Let us know what you need. I am concerned, hearing what I heard here tonight, and even seeing what I saw last week, because this stuff is going somewhere, and our parking lot has been sinking. So this is not good. And so if we could address this quickly, I know we would be appreciative. And like, all you got to do is let us know. We can, you know, we've already given the town an easement in regards to the one parking lot here, and we're more than willing to work with you guys again. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else on that issue? Anything from the public? All right. Any other issues for the agenda that aren't on the established agenda? Anything else?
No, we can't put it on because I didn't put it on, but I will want infrastructure committee meeting to talk about the Penobscot River case that is between the National Resource Defense Council and Mallinckrodt in terms of removing mercury from sediment in the Penobscot. That engineering report is out, and their recommendations are significant in what could be impacts to this community from that work. And there's no opportunity for the town to comment unless we ask to be a fact witness in the legal case in November. But we can have a future. That's just a
Okay.
heads up on another issue.
All right. Need a motion.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
We got a motion to adjourn the Infrastructure and Property Committee meeting. All in favor? We're adjourned.